It wasn't on.
Excellent.
G'day punters, here we are for a bit of Punting Melbourne style, joined by the punters, punter Dan Kelly and Mark Rhoden, special guest.
Hello Darren, hello Dan,
Hello,
good to see you again.
Yeah, good.
For those that don't know Mark, he originally joined us on the show not long after you left Sportsbet.
That's right.
Back,
When was that now, mate?
That was just over 2 years ago. In fact, my first day betting on my own was Villiers Day 2016, 2 years ago Saturday.
there you go, so 2 years, been an interesting couple of years. It'd be interesting to hear your report on that. And then you've started selling some sets through One to Fire, that ended, then you've moved on to Winning Edge and Champion Bet. So anyone that's interested in Mark's stuff, you can find him at those places. New South Wales,
Proud Victorian, but
Yeah, that's right.
but bets on.
Yeah, well, New South Wales has been my area for, well, a decade now, so yeah, sticking with that.
And for those that want more in-depth information, there's a Business of Betting podcast out there that Mark did back a while ago.
Yep.
There's one for me too, and could be a very interesting one coming
Possibly
really soon. You never know.
Yeah.
So,
well, there's been a bit happening. Mark specialising in being Victorian and betting on New South Wales. He's probably got a really good grasp on a few things that have been happening with the bit of Atlantis, the new races, and obviously, I think the main pertinent one to start with was probably the what happened with John Walter, the jockey manager betting.
Yeah.
Which happened with that Chester Rhoden race, and now the subsequent rule that's come in that in New South Wales will be no jockey managers betting in future, which could impact us in southern states and things like that. But anyway, Mark, maybe back to how that race and how that started before your thoughts on the on the whole thing.
I don't know John Walter, the manager in question personally, but I know he's tied up with the jockeys involved, or one of the jockeys involved. That race was at 5 Horse Field.
So who's he mentioned? You mentioned Josh Clark, Timmy Clark.
Yeah, and they're the main two. In that particular race, it was a 5 Horse Field. Rhoden was a very short fast favourite coming off a big win, but it was back from 1200 or 1100 and into a really small field with no leader really, except perhaps Chester, the Waterhouse first upper, and you can see from a form analysis point of view why at the odds you could have a liking for Chester, and so you can see where people are coming from. It's like, well, that looks bad. If his jockey is on the one out the back at the short price, and
it's a little paranoid perception is what they're all.
Well, that's exactly right. Yeah.
We're worried about reality, but they're worried about perception.
I can add a few things into the mix here, but it's going to be coloured by the fact that John's a mate of mine, right? So I do know personally. But I'll just say this, that every time John tips a favourite, it's because he's been dragged kicking and screaming to it. He just hates tipping favourites, right? So every race he goes into, he's looking for a way around the favourite.
Well, I'm the exact opposite. I mean, my favourites are my stock in trade, and I couldn't back right here, and at the price was because of that map issue. And I don't care who was riding it or who just the jockey that was riding it. It didn't set up well for an even money chance that night, or 210 or whatever.
Was it
short of that? It ran odds on, but I couldn't possibly get it odds on, given those circumstances. And as a form analyst, if you were inclined to look for another angle, the leader in that 5 Horse Field is an obvious way to go.
Which is what happened there. So subsequent to that, there was a bit of an inquiry, and nothing was, I think, found under odds. Probably good. There's a good man up there in Lee Dalton who would have, no doubt, he would have had a look over things, look over the betting, and being the betting steward in New South Wales, nothing under odds, which it wouldn't have been anyway. But subsequently, due to this perception issue, and
well, they would have looked into John's betting, and I can just tell the punters that John was actually out at the golf course, Australian League, caddying for a mate of his.
caddying for Aaron Pike.
He wasn't betting that day. So
the Queensland Open or Australian
he was somewhere caddying.
Yeah. But they couldn't have it. They don't look at the phones and whatnot. But on from that, Mark, so that's came out that they've banned jockey managers from betting in New South Wales.
Starting in March, yes.
So thoughts on that, maybe where does it stop?
Well, I suppose the few months grace period is to let the managers decide whether they want to still be managers or whether their other interests are more important to them. But I think it's unfortunate that they have to choose because, jockey management it's not a career path you're going to follow unless you're a keen racing person and, by extension, punter. You don't come into year 12 and decide out of the blue I'm going to go into jockey management, do you? It just doesn't happen. So, it's from a perception point of view. As you mentioned, yes, obviously there can be apparent conflicts of interest, but in the real world, I just don't. Who's going to want to do it if you?
So the perception is that it's a form of insider trading. That you've got knowledge that the public aren't aware of in tactics and so forth.
Danny Power.
But that's the stock in trade of racing.
That's right, exactly.
You know what I mean? No matter what your angle is.
That's why I said, where does it stop? Danny Power, who's the thoroughbred on Twitter, he tweeted out pro punters, pro tipsters, and anyone working in the media shouldn't be jockey managers. It is a conflict of interest. To which, I mean, Mark, you tweeted back. Well, so what? You know, where does it stop? Is it, you know, when does it trainers? Is it, you know?
Well, I said something about, you know, should they not be allowed to have family and friends as well? Because I mean, that's the problem with banning it. Is that there's just going to be another avenue to get on. I mean, to think jockey managers, if they choose to stay licensed, are just going to give up betting cold is naive, to say the least.
Yeah. And then you've got the scenario with Brent Nadella, who's got his manager, who's Mark Van Treat, who's down here and manages a few jockeys and actually does the form on Western Australian racing. So he gets his form done by a friend of the show, Nathan Snow, who's not a jockey manager, but he's a form analyst who's helping the jockeys with his tactics and things like that. I mean,
so does that need to be licensed?
Yeah, that's right.
And is that an unfair advantage that Nathan's got? Because you've got.
And I used to do that myself.
Like
mate Reece Wheeler, when he was a jockey, I helped him with his tactics and things like that. I said, you know, this horse can go forward today, or this and that. You know, just a bit of help. But
and the vast majority of jockeys in Victoria, for instance, a large number of jockeys in Victoria get Dean Lester's speed man, talk to Dean about tactics. Are they going to clamp down on Dean? You know, he's Victoria, so no. But
interesting, Darren Weir said on that I was watching a replay of his Terry Bailey interview on the Tuesdays, and he said, "Who helps you? Who helps you with your form and your speed maps?" He said, "It was Dean Lester." So, you know, that's the thing. It's when 20 people are all getting the same speed map, the leading trainer's getting the same speed map as the top 10 jockeys. That's why it can be a procession sometimes.
You can just go on and listen to them. Mark, yes, there's a bunch of them in Sydney. I think Alan Scores might be tips on Sky. You know, I might be wrong with some of the names. There's a lot of Sky presenters that are also involved in jockey management.
And I believe they're getting exemptions. They've had to apply for exemptions and they're being granted.
Oh yeah, that was a caveat. I saw that. Yeah.
Now,
you can apply for exemption
because you can't upset the mighty TAB Sky Channel.
Not in New South Wales.
Not in New South Wales. That's all you do down here. But so John Scores, yes, and Mark Guest, I think they're the main two, are exempt.
Yeah.
So they're allowed to tip every day.
Well, my personal view is just that, you know, the market's not strong enough to be excluding people left, right and centre.
No.
We really want as much money in the market as possible. So it's really up to the authorities to crack down on anything untoward that's happening. So if this information is being used inappropriately, that's the steward's job, or the betting supervisors, or whoever wants to take that role on, the integrity departments, to deal with that and be able to look into the betting on these situations. Not excluding people is not really good for anyone, in my view.
No, and everything's transparent these days. The betting's all run over with a fine tooth comb by betting stewards, and when they call for the sheets on a race, if they want to look at something, you know, that's the first thing they would have done on that race, the Rohirrim race.
Everything, almost everything is traceable these days.
Traceable, IPs, everything.
That wasn't the case 30 years ago.
No, that's right, and that's when...
You definitely want John Moore betting. And because he finds different types of horses than you do.
Absolutely.
They're all hidden in videos or trials or whatever, and he's backing horses on the fringe of the market. He's avoiding favourites, so you need that.
Absolutely.
You need that money in the market, you know?
Yep, I totally agree with that.
All right, what about the Golden Eagle, mate? This is Volandi's new race. So the Golden Eagle is a 4-year-old...
4-year-olds only, yeah.
4-year-olds only race on...
$7.something million on Derby Day.
On Derby Day.
We decided on the distance yet? Is it a mile?
1,500.
1,500.
One of your funny distances.
There we go.
Yeah. At Rose Hill.
Platform distance. Platform race with $7 million.
Which the VRC obviously weren't very happy over, Mark, and then somehow the TAB were going to sponsor it, and then they weren't going to sponsor it. So
pressure out of it. Yeah.
Anyway, but you're a
Unibet are, aren't they?
Often too.
Oh, right.
That'd be a first. I mean, Sportsbet aren't allowed to sponsor a maiden in New South Wales, so Unibet sponsoring the $7.5 million.
But again, you as a Victorian betting on New South Wales, you've probably got a good feel. You know what Derby Day's like, and the VRC having a whinge I saw didn't really appeal to you.
No, well, there's a couple of things I touched on there, I suppose, in my response was, firstly, I mean, just this year was the Everest and Caulfield Guineas were on the same day, and I was like a kid on Christmas morning. It was just such an exciting day of racing. It was a great day of racing, and the figures bore that out. The turnover in both states was fantastic, and they both got good crowds. And I
thought the general punters, the run-of-the-mill punters, Saturday punters, were excited.
Yeah.
They enjoyed
They
it.
were. They really were, and they have a good, good racing coming every 20 minutes from both venues. That's what you want. I thought that worked really well, and I believe this year the Everest is on Caulfield Cup Day, so we'll see how that goes. But of course, we're going to have the Derby Day and Golden Eagle clashing as well. So, but if it works like the Everest and Caulfield Guineas did, then the Victorian industry's got nothing to worry about. It'll just enhance the day and the product. And
they keep going on about the on-course crowds and that. They worry about.
I made a sort of snide remark on Twitter about that. There's like about 3% of the on-course crowd of Flemington Cup Week know the races are on anyway. They have no interest in horse racing, and they don't stick around during the year. That's not where the next generation of punters have come from, just drunks and Cup Week. So to suggest that they're going to have their attention diverted by a race, 1,000 kilometres away is a bit hard to take as well. But anyway.
But you're saying it's right that it's racing's time in the shop window. It's not just that's
I've said for years. Victoria's managed to really marginalise New South Wales at carnival time in both. The spring one's obvious because of Cup Week. That's racing's biggest week of the year. It's Australia's biggest week, and it happens to be in Melbourne. Melbourne claimed that week. But it happens in the autumn as well, where the biggest week for Sydney is, of course, the Championships Saturdays, and the Rugby League's already started, the AFL's already started. They get press, which I imagine they do paying for as well. But they're competing with the early rounds of the football codes, which is less than ideal. The Melbourne Autumn Carnival, Super Saturdays, certainly before the AFL started.
Yeah, it's almost February now, it's early March.
So again, they get first bite of the cherry at the crowds, and that sort of clear air. I don't see how you can criticise New South Wales for wanting to claim a bit of that space.
No, I'd agree with that, and I think racing should have a look at what the situation that's developed now. The football seasons have started earlier and earlier, but the time when they finish is pretty fixed. It's last weekend in September or first week in October, whatever it is. And the cricket administrators, in their wisdom, have basically given away November. The first test used to start the week after Cup Week, and they've just completely folded that. So November's completely available for racing if they want to extend further into November.
Okay.
No, the almighty VRC are the ones who oppose everything. Because they've got this, they've got to build new grandstands with all their money. Things like that. But,
I would say there's an opportunity for, whether it's New South Wales or Victoria. Like in Victoria's case, they're giving away that opportunity at the moment. And I'm not against the standalone meetings, but the Ballarat and Packet ones are really being held a bit. They're conceding an opportunity that's available to them. So they could be a Sandown meeting or Caulfield meeting.
Those two Saturdays in particular are sort of valuable real estate now.
I think so. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't, that those clubs don't deserve standalone meetings. I'm just saying the timings, it's a problem because the turnover drops as soon as they go to those venues.
What's the turnover benefit to the clubs? There must be some racing having a standalone Saturdays, because I just know from a personal point of view, I loved the Bendigo Cups on the Wednesdays following Cup Week, and yet they were always huge crowds.
There used to be 2 days back in my day, back in our day.
So there was no problem with getting a crowd on a Wednesday because there'd be a half a day in the town.
They take their holiday.
But obviously there's a turnover benefit to conducting those meetings on Saturdays, because the clubs themselves are keen to racing on Saturday. But